Good morning. Tomorrow, believe it or not, I'm turning 65. And I want to do this today because this is my last academic lecture that I give. Dr. Rodney asked me, what are you going to present? I says, well, it'll be interesting. 30 years in 30 minutes. I cannot do it in 30 minutes, as you know. But I'm going to use those 30 minutes for really talk about my part of practice orthopedic surgery. There's two sayings that I'm good familiar with is life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes. And through that life expectancy, you're going to be encountered with a box of chocolate. And that's another saying that I like from Forrest Gump. Life is like a life of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get. I have had many chocolates from that box, wonderful chocolate. But then 2-3 years down the line, you get that aftertaste that didn't taste that good. So you grab another chocolate and keep on going. I have been lucky. Everybody says, no, because you have been lucky. What is lucky? What is having luck? It's an unpredictable, uncontrollable force that shapes and events favorably for an individual. But you have to be there, prepare at that right time. If you're not there, prepare at the right time, you're not lucky. So my life, born in 49, spent 27 years getting ready to be a doctor. Then 38 years between practice, residency, et cetera, et cetera. And then the next 30 years, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have plans. I don't have a plan. I have plans for those next years. Life is a balancing act. And this is what I want to talk to you guys. Because you get a lot of the work, the career, the performance, but you don't get much about family, friends, and happiness. And I'm going to spend some time talking about this during my career. I have to thank my family, my wife sitting back there. I've probably been a pain in the neck for these years since we got married. We just, month ago, we were 42 years that we've been married. And my children that have been very supportive of whatever I do. So really, we're going to pay attention first to the 27 first years. We're going to be very simple. I have had a lot of bad chocolate, and I have had good chocolate. My father was an orthopedic surgeon in Cuba. As you can see from down here, I started fishing very early. And when Castro came along, they put us on an airplane and sent us to the United States on a program called the Peter Pan Project. I came by myself and my sister when I was 11 and spent 3 years before my parents get out of Cuba. After that, I worked in Miami, delivering papers in the morning and the afternoon. That's when I got used to getting up at 4:30 in the morning. And when my father got from Cuba, I gave him a nice 1956, 54 Chevy, and that's the one that he used as a transportation with $300 and some dollars that I bought that had a hole in the floor. I went to Riverside Military Academy. Riverside Military Academy is in Gainesville, Georgia, and I went there because my uncle went there. And my uncle said, you want to go to Riverside? And I said, it's an incredible institution. And I did real well in Riverside. There you see the picture of my graduating in 1968 with Howard Romagli. Howard Romagli and I were the only two that at that time we got the classical diploma, the highest diploma you can get. Howard Romagli was a neurologist, and he passed away 5 years ago. Then I went to As you can tell because of my English, I had problems with English and I could not get in a university here in the United States, but I wanted to be a doctor. So I went to Salamanca, Spain, and I studied medicine in Spain. Again, wonderful years in Cuba, wonderful years here in the United States. This is my passport, and this is my ticket when I got out of Cuba. Pan American, and again, it was $17.26 for a round trip ticket. I still have the going back ticket available, I guess. Now, here's where I get now into the 30 minutes, quote unquote, is during my 30 and 60, quote unquote, years, which is my productive life. I was lucky. I was lucky because I got in a program in Mississippi in which it was great. Jim Hughes, the chairman over there, has been like a godfather to me. I went through several programs. I had one program, they told me that, what's your name? And I say, Jorge Alonso. And he says, that's one strike. Then he says, where you graduated from? I said, University of Salamanca. That's a second strike. And he says, we cannot get you here. It was the University of Florida in Jacksonville. Well, I went and trained, then came back and worked for the University of Florida in Jacksonville. So when the gentleman that interviewed me before saw me and interviewed me for the position, I said, Marshall, remember I'm from Cuba. In Cuba, you need 3 strikes to be out. And I have seen World Series with 2 strikes, 2 outs, and the bases loaded. So, again, 5 years training. I have to admire the people that helped me. Frank Aykroyd from Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami, Jim Hughes from Mississippi, and Wood Lovell from the Moores Children's. I did a year of pediatric orthopedics. There, in my fellowship, that's where I wrote my first paper. My first paper was in an osteotomy of the hip. And we're going to go over that one in a minute. But for the residents and for the young attending, in order to achieve your goals, you have to be decisive. Stay focused on really what you want to do. Write down your goals. Dream about them. Dream is very important. I'm a dreamer. I'm a sleep dreamer and an awake dreamer. I sometimes sit down there in the computer and my wife thinks that I'm sleeping. No, I'm dreaming of things that I'm going to do. Plan it, whatever you're going to do. Include a team, and it's important. The right team will help you grow. Welcome failure. As you're going to see, I have written a lot of papers. For every paper I have written, I probably have had 3 to 5 failures. Did not get accepted, did not like it, I got mad, exactly, et cetera, et cetera. Inspect your own results. Make sure that what you're doing is what you want as a result. Reward yourself. Sometimes we cannot reward with what we want. But again, reward yourself for doing the job. And maintain your integrity. This is something that I would like you guys to keep in mind for the rest of your career. This is the Altdorf hip clamp, written by me and Dr. Wood Lovell and John Lovejoy, that was published in the Journal of Pediatric Orthopedics. I presented this in the Academy in Las Vegas. When I walked in that room, there were 5,500 people sitting in that room, 2 projectors in the front, and about 4 projectors on the side. And with the 2 in the front is to show my presentation, on the side, show me sweating. Then I went to Germany and Switzerland, and I spent some time with Professor Cherney. And from there on, I have established incredible communication with the Hanover system, with Professor Christian Credit. Professor Christian Credit really is enjoying my retirement because he's coming to fish with me now in the month of October to Destin. So now that I finished my training, where are those 232 years, those 30 years? Again, people say that I've been lucky. It's an unpredictable, uncontrollable force that shapes an event favorably for an individual, being there prepared at the right time. And it's true. But again, in order to achieve your goals, you need to be successful. And to be successful, it's like opening a combination lock. You need the correct numbers and the right sequence. If you don't have those two, you cannot be successful. Recognize opportunities. Be prepared to tackle it, and you will succeed. So get some goals, like we said. Complete your goals. Hard work is proportional to luck. In my family, the word oomph is very important. We tell our kids that you have to have oomph. We tell everybody in the family that if you want to succeed, you have to have oomph. What is oomph? Each one of you can think about it. What is oomph for you? Be there early, leave late, do more work, etc., etc. Don't give up. Like they say, good luck, life, you have good luck in a third of the time. The attitude will help you in the other third of the time. And bad luck, 1/3 of the time, but it's proportional related to laziness. If you're lazy, you're not going to have good luck. In my career, I have stood in the shoulder of giants. And these are the giants, some of the giants that have helped me in my career. Emile Letournel, Joe Mata, Dana Mears, Andy Burgess, and Marvin Tile. They have kind of guided me to what I want to do. I want to do pediatric trauma. I want to do pediatric surgery, orthopedic surgery. And these guys says, well, you can do adult too. Trauma is not bad. Trauma is very good. So in '82, I started at Trauma 1 in Jacksonville, Florida. I was very lucky because I was there at the right time. I knew what I wanted to do. And there I met Dr. Joe Tipes and Dr. Vukic that with that group, we developed Trauma 1. And as you can see, Trauma 1 is a helicopter system that brought the patients to University Hospital. There's a helicopter. And this girl was in the Children's Miracle Network that got run over by a bush hog. And I didn't know what a bush hog was. That's another story. And here's Marshall Horowitz, who was my partner. Again, the Children's Miracle Network. We were national twice with the Children's Miracle Network. There I started publishing about children fixators, lumbar injuries in children, etiology of valgus angulation after metaphyseal fractures in children, wrote a chapter in the AO book on pediatric fractures. Then there too we were doing adult trauma, and I did a couple of papers there. Complete acromius clavicular separation, talk about the foot, subtalar dislocation, diagnostic subtalar dislocation, a prognosticated classification, and started my goal of writing. Remember, every time I wrote one article, there were 3 or 4 that were. So keep that in your mind. So you have to balance. That time I was young. I looked at the family. I had a young family. And I needed to balance with the family. Very important. Another thing important for you is when you're here in Mobile, draw a line somewhere where you live. If you live in the other side of the bay, you say, well, okay, here at the entrance of the tunnel, draw an imaginary line. The problems you have at home, leave it on that side of the line. The problems that you have at work, leave it on this side. Sometimes Maria asks me, so what's happening? What's going on? I say, oh, everything is okay, blah, 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 blah. Try to separate both. Keep your problems to where the problems are. Don't bring them either or. The family, we had fun. We went together many places. When you have kids, most of you have kids, I have a word of advice. Spend time with your kids. I had 3 at this time, and I spent time with the 3 of them together, and then I took time individually with each one of them to give them my full 100%, like here with George going fishing. As you can see, my guy, look pretty good there. I don't look like the guy, And my daughter and Eric had different decisions. In 1988, luck hit again. I was very lucky because a position came open at UAB for Chief of Orthopedic Trauma. Lucky in various ways. Lucky because it was an opportunity for me that was incredible. But the balancing act was different. I had 3 kids. I have a career to work on the other side. My finances were zilch. I need to start thinking on what to do. A little bit about finances. These are exactly the steps, more or less, that you have to have in your mind. Poor debt management. I wanted a Porsche. Nil. Don't live beyond your means. It's important when you get started. I had 0 saving. So the recommendations are 15% per year if you want to retire at 65. I want to retire at 65, but I didn't have 0, so I had to put it in high gear. Inadequate tax management. Make sure you're putting in 401k, whatever program you want. That for you guys is $17,500 a year. I was very lucky that at UAB they tripled, 3-to-1 match. So now I know that I was in high gear. Divorce. And I'm talking about divorce. Starting over is expensive. Personal divorce, they get pre-op, nups, and 30% divorce rate in orthopedic surgeons. Okay? And then you have the divorce of professional divorce, changing practices. God, I have to work with Burkitt. I don't want to work with Burkitt. I've been working with Burkitt now for 2 years. And that will cost you about 30% of what you have saved. Wrong insurance, I'm not going to get there. Expensive investment. You get all those companies that tell you that they're going to help you retire, and you are paying them a percentage. And they say that at the end of your retirement, you probably gave them $1 to $2 million of your own money. If you go and take a course by yourself, it's a couple of $100, and I've taken a couple through the internet, and you save $1 to $2 million. The other thing is loans to the family and friends. You are the rich doctor now. Can you give me $5,000? I have news for you. You're not rich. believe me. And the best thing for you to do is to Brother Tim or Sister Mary, give her a gift. I'm going to give you $2,000. That's how much I can give you. You look good, you give her money, and it's not a loan. And very important, last but not least, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this, is lawsuits. So there at UAB, I started filling gaps with the Elizarov technique because we have a lot of problems with the tibias. The tibias heal, they didn't heal. We did the Elizarov technique, and I started doing the monorail technique for trauma with Pietro Rigazzoni from Switzerland. Then here is what my life changed completely in academic. I got a loan, not a loan, a research, a pelvic trauma core in 1988 grant from the CDC for $1.5 million. We started working on pelvic and acetabular trauma. And here on April 12, 1991, it changed my career. And I want to tell you why. It's amazing that we start doing final element modeling of the pelvis to see when the fracture occurred, when the airbag inflated, when the fracture, what happened to the fracture site. And what happened was that we knew that by frontal impact, airbags inflate. The airbags inflate, the fracture occurs before the airbag inflates. And that displaced the fracture by 28 milliseconds. So you can tell that my life have changed because of 28 milliseconds. I presented in Detroit to the Volvo company who was doing this, and they had to change all the airbags, the timing of the airbag inflation. So I was lucky because of 28 milliseconds, and you're going to see what happened after here. So we start looking at acetabular pattern. We got another $6.2 million grant research from the Mercedes-Benz. We use restrained use in lower extremity fracture, frontal collision, restraints and motor vehicle collision. And because of the airbag and seatbelt, we can show what injuries were happening with one, with the other, with the two of them, and with none of the two. And that really helped us, me especially, take off. I was going everywhere showing this, and this is, as you can see here, with seatbelt and without seatbelt. And here's with seatbelt, and here without seatbelt. And you can see the airbag inflating. But this one stayed behind, and this one kind of submarine under the airbag. What was happening with that is that we were saving lives with the airbag because of chest, head, neck injury. But it was submarining under the airbag, and we were having horrible injuries of the lower extremity and pelvis. So with airbags alone, people were not dying. With seatbelt alone, they were dying. With both of them, we were saving them a lot from injuries and dying. And without them, forget it, horrible injuries. So we start looking at acetabular fracture, incidents of pelvic trauma and fatal automobile accidents, approaches, DVT prophylaxis, heterotopic ossification. Remember, for each of these articles, there were 3 or 4 that they denied on me. More publishing controversies in acetabular fracture, extended iliofemoral approaches, review of the treatment of hip dislocations. In 1997, I had a company that came to visit me, And we developed the minimal invasive orthopedics lab in Birmingham, in which we had the computer-guided surgery system. It's a concept of C-arm navigation, attachment reference base in the pelvis, for example, and then you move the C-arm into the field, you take 3 or 4 views, and then you send it to the computer. The C-arm is out of the field, and automatic downloads it and corrects the images, and then you work from a station. The problem with that is, like me, I didn't trust the C-arm. The guy from Switzerland used to tell me, trust the force, and say, I'm not a Jedi. I'm not going to trust. I usually went back and forth with the C-arm. So that's an operating room at UAB in which we had, right here is the brain lab system. That by the way, is here in South Alabama. We were doing a pelvic fracture. You can see the pins going in. That's the reference point right there. We have, is that you, Mike Lilly? Yeah, I guess so. And again, we knew exactly the direction, the size, the angle that we're going to put the screw on the pelvis. I started going to courses, and I started being asked to be chairman of courses. As you can see, I was busy, very busy, because you know how long it takes to get a paper out. I started going to Davos, Switzerland. I was chairman of advanced courses in Davos from 2000 to 2003. I was chairman of basic course in Davos before then. Then I was chairman in Davos from 2004 to 2008. Here we have the other 2 co-chairmen, Christian Kredek, that I mentioned already, and he is from Switzerland, Italy, Germany, Larry Webb from Wake Forest, and myself. We were the master courses, the chairmen. And it kept going and keep going. But again, you have to maintain that stability. So I started traveling with the family. And the family came to the courses. And we have here my son George, my son Eric, with Professor Algauer, a well-known trauma surgeon, one of the fathers of the AO. Well, I was in the Davos conference room. They were skiing, they were having fun, and again, the whole family there. I was member of the trustees for the AO for 6 years. And that was my last meeting, and we did something different. I don't know why we did that, but again. In South Korea, Young Chek Young did not like what I say about seatbelt. And we had a big discussion on the newspaper and in TV about what happens if you don't wear your seatbelt and you have airbags. That's how the whole thing started in car safety. Rio de Janeiro. To me, this is one of the cities that I visited the most. I've probably been to Rio de Janeiro 14, 15, 16 times. The president of Brazil passed the seatbelt law, and he invited me to be there when the signing of the seatbelt law, because I was months before, years before, I was in a TV program called Los Médicos showing about all these lectures, everything. And one day I said, well, in the United States, they even have seatbelt for the dogs. So he says, well, next time you come here, bring one. Maria and I traveled all over looking for a seatbelt for the dog. Finally, we found it in Atlanta. And in the live program in Rio, I grabbed the dog, put the seatbelt on, and when I was bringing the dog up to the top of the table, hit the head against the table, and the dog started going wild, and people calling in, hey, forget about the seatbelt. Dr. Alonso is going to kill the dog before. But what was interesting was that I told him that I could not be there for the signing of the law. He says, you have to be here. I said, well, it's not going to be timing. The timing is going to be horrible. Too bad that the video is not working on this one. But when I arrived at the airport in Rio, right there when they opened the door of the plane, I had a gentleman that walked in and said, Dr. Alonso? I said, yes. He says, follow me. I went down the stairs on the side of the plane. I had a helicopter waiting for me. I went to the place. They signed. I gave a lecture, gave 2 lectures, signed. They took me to lunch and brought me back. And that's the video that doesn't show, but I'm supposed to land right there. Mexico. That's the other country that I've been lots of time. And again, you can see all the conferences that I've been to everywhere. Good thing about Puerto Vallarta, I fish a very nice tuna. Cabo San Lucas, a very nice marlin. So everything now has the balancing act. Okay? I hope you're getting this. In Mexico, they make a copy of my hand because I've been training so many Mexican fellows. And that hand is in the Mexican Academy of Surgery in Mexico City. And there we go again, more medic Congress and this and that. Well, this is Christian Kretek in Mexico with me. As you can see, I'm losing him up already. He's getting to be more Cuban than German. I got invited to Dubai, to the first course of pelvic and acetabulum in Dubai. His Highness Sheikh Haddam bin Rashid Al Maktoum invited me and said, Dr. Alonso, I want you to do a case here in Dubai. We went to Dubai. They said that we're going to have the press over there, and we're going to have the TV cameras over there, if it was okay with you to do the case. We stayed at the Burj Al Jam Hotel. Here is the trauma center. Here's the Rashid Hospital. Incredible facilities. Again, here it's me. Here's the pelvic fracture, acetabular fracture. Here we are operating. Don't ask me what that says. No an idea of what it's saying. Again, people ask me, were you afraid? And say, yes, I was kind of a little bit of afraid. I'm here now. I didn't lose my hands. I didn't lose anything. And again, I don't know what it says, neither this way or that way. I don't know how we read this. So again, it did pretty well. Good result. Went to Panama. Panama, Vice President of Panama, I operated on his knees, another acetabular fracture. Here I got from the governor of Panama the citizenship to Panama. First regional AO course in Amman, Jordan. We went to Petra, and we went, as you can see, to the Black Sea. Went to Petronas in Kuala Lumpur. I was part of the first Asian International Congress on Emergency Medicine and Trauma. Beautiful place, beautiful country. First International Orthopedic Trauma course in Capri, Italy, 2005. Here again, we kept on balancing my wife, my daughter, beautiful place. Well, I was inside one of the most beautiful hotels for a whole week. Not my wife. My wife was shopping and going everywhere. So a curveball came, and they threw a curveball at me. So the whole balance thing just went crazy. The Supreme Court of Alabama, Roland Rivard versus University of Alabama Health Services Foundation, PC, and Jorge Alonso, MD. This is on the internet. You can get this. You can get the whole case. It went from 1995 to 2002. Dr. Rivard, a Canadian orthopedic surgeon, was involved in an automobile accident in which he received no injury. Fractures to the left tibia, fibula, elbow, bilateral knee fractures, large head and fascial laceration, right shoulder, pelvic fracture, including fractures of the sacrum and pubic rami. He's suing me because he was impotent and that the condition was permanent for 3.5. But also his wife claimed that she lost the comfort and care and services of her husband for $1 million. But everything went in my favor because they didn't know the anatomy. I knew the anatomy. And after defending for 5 years, the case was closed. Now, we have to look at our patients. We do an acetabular fracture. We tell them non-weight bearing. And they really do a good job on our instruction. So you have to be very careful. Oh, doc, the wound is a little bit red. I just wonder why. Yeah, but no problem. I'm not putting weight. I'm not walking on the mud. Okay. Keep that in mind, you guys. So my last deal here is in University of South Alabama. Start doing some courses. I got the truck, and we start doing some surgeon-specific, fracture-specific. It'd be like a surgeon's menu. People came, and they wanted to do exactly what they want to do on the cadaver. And, hey, Dr. Perry there. And Dr. Meyer helping the residents, helping other surgeons. We went to Jacksonville. We went to different parts of the country, doing fine. Here we have a paper that is going to come out. It's analysis of gait changes and functional outcome in patients surgically treated for displaced acetabular fracture. And we have another paper coming out on the SI joint fusion for arthritic of the SI joint. I put this one here because it's been very hard to maintain the equilibrium on everything. I have talked to Maria several times, and it says, one of the things that have really, I'm looking now at this time of my retirement, is that I don't have friends. I do have friends, but I don't have that friend that, hey, let's go and do this weekend. Let's go and do this. I don't have that kind of a friend. You know, you guys that go play golf together, blah, 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 blah. I have a lack of the part of friendship because I have taken time off from that instead of going to play golf. By the way, the second time I played golf told me not to spend any money on any golf stuff. But I have spent more time, family, career, and a little bit of my health. Thank God my health doing pretty good. But friends is one of the things that I really kind of miss, having good friends. These are the fellows that rotated with me in Birmingham. I had 68 fellows, in which all the fellows, she is one of the top surgeons in Mexico City. He is one of the top surgeon in Peru, in Guadalajara, Mexico, Chile, Colombia. And I have had fellows that now are chairman of the department in Germany, in Switzerland, and in Rio de Janeiro. and they have written paper. This paper was written by Lichberg on about traumatology in the USA at UAB. So one of the things they have asked me, some of the residents, what changes I have seen in trauma during my life. Two things I can say. Implants and soft tissue care. And this is really quick. Alvin Lambert, 1913, in his book, Osteosynthesis, he drew all of this. This is how he fixes fractures. Black screws, Circlash wiring, anti-glide plates, tension band, external fixation. Guess what? This is the same thing we're doing right now. You take an AO book and you look at this, and some of the pictures are the same. The only thing is that the implants have changed a little bit. Lambert taught Robert Danese on these techniques. And in 1949, the AO went to Robert Danese to learn about compression. So really, we haven't changed anything since Lambert, only nicest plate, you know, taking care of the soft tissue a little bit, as you can see there, biological fixation. And for minimal invasive surgery, the approach, reduction, and osteosynthesis should be a footprint. It is not the length of the incision, but the smallest possible footprint that the surgeon should leave at the site of surgery. Fracture healing is determined by the reduction technique in soft tissue handling. That's something that we learned early in the years because an orthopedic surgeon did not take care of the soft tissue. Jim Hughes mentioned this on his lecture, that when he came back from Switzerland, the care of the soft tissue was incredible. So again, footprints is your signature. Each one of you will have your own signature. So what's going to happen in the next few years? I want to do a lot of things. I told my wife that I want to cook, but she said, I'm not getting into the kitchen. I want to take photography. I want to do new things that I have not been able to do because of my structured life during my medical career. So, as you can see, I have plans. And this is one of my plans. And you guys are all welcome to come to Destin to visit me. But please, don't talk about medicine. Okay? Thank you very much.